All right, this is the 1 million download episode where and that's just a reason for us to do this, I guess. We're still just going to be talking about training camp and whatnot. I guess predictions for the game. We lost Coach Hahn. We lost Goose. We're losing everybody. Haven't even started. We don't have anyone even viewing this yet, and people are leaving. Negative for viewers right now. Coach is back. So as people slowly start coming in, we got a couple people here. Drop your comments, and we'll get to those as soon as possible. But we might as well start talking about training camp thus far. Clayton, you're top left, and we go left to right, top to bottom in America. So why don't you give us your thoughts overall on training camp?
All right, my thoughts on training camp. Really, a few things stick out. I was talking with Jacob about this earlier. We went live on Twitter. Rashawn Gary stepping into that leadership role. I mean, yeah, when you hear Preston Smith talk about it, and Preston Smith was kind of there when Rashawn came on the team, or right about the same time they arrived. Rashawn being very young, I thought that was really cool. Seeing him kind of step up into that leadership role. It's one thing to be a dynamic player and turning heads, on the field, but in the locker room is pretty awesome. So when you talk about the leadership around this team, you got Adrian Amos, on defense alone, Adrian Amos, Devondre Campbell, Kenny Clark, and then of course Rashawn Gary kind of stepping in as that, arguably the best player on the defense. I think that locker room is going to be really, really stout. So from training camp, that, and of course Romeo Dobbs, right? The guy made 3 catches and he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. So it seems like the hype is kind of warranted, just early on. So I'm excited to see what he does. But then the other one was that he's popping up in my mind is Zach Tom. Zach Tom, them giving him first team reps at left tackle. I know it's early, but it's like, holy cow, dude. This feels like Bakhtiari when he came in the league, because we were all like, why are they putting that, young dude at left tackle? And then lo and behold, he turns into, arguably the best pass blocking offensive lineman in the entire league. And then talk with Jacob about this, and I'll let someone else go. Are we concerned about Mason Crosby? I mean, all of a sudden, oh yeah, by the way, we just had his knee scoped 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. It's like, what? So that kind of raises a little concern with me. That's what I'm coming away from training camp with. That and AJ Dillon. I don't understand how you have a chin chiseled like that and a body the way he does. It's just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
So Jacob, you asked me, but I'll turn it back to you. Romeo Dobbs, is that dude legit, or is this just kind of like something fun for the off season?
Well, I mean, I hope he's legit. As far as, like he said, he's training camp Jesus right now. So, I mean, I hope he's legit. One of the things that I really thought was the best clip that I saw was Quay Walker, just the interview that the guy did. I mean, if you could be more humble than anyone in the world, the guy's talking, the people interviewing him are trying to tell him, like, you're so good at this and you're so great at this. And he's like, nah, not at all. Like, I need to keep working. I need to keep grinding. He's watching, Devondre do his business. And I just thought it was so encouraging. I got glimpses of when Rashawn got drafted, and basically he was just so humble. And he said, I'm so glad to be here. I see Quay Walker just killing it next year and doing it in a very humble way, which is encouraging, and just, growing the guys around him. And the fact that he's on the number one, squad right away, I think that's telling, especially because, like you said, a lot of times the Packers they're not necessarily excited to put rookies in the mix. So the fact that he's there is very encouraging.
So just a reminder, if you guys are hanging out, drop your questions, comments, concerns. We're just filling time waiting for your input there. But JJ, what have been some of your standouts for training camp so far?
I think for me, I'm starting to have a better shape, better feel for how the roster is shaping up. I like that they're exploring Zach Tom at left tackle. That's something that I've thought had a lot of potential. And to me, putting him there feels maybe a little bit more like it's let's get Yash over to right tackle and get him ready, because we're expecting Bakhtiari to be back soon. That's kind of what it feels a little bit more like to me. A little bit disappointed to see that, Kingsley and Agbar not really doing anything so far yet. Not really second string pass rusher yet. Obviously, rookie. What can you really expect? But it has me kind of intrigued for Ladarius Hamilton, just not a guy that we looked at very much last year. I want to go back and rewatch him and do kind of a deep dive on what kind of potential we think he has to offer this year. But those are kind of the two most interesting spots to me. And then also, I haven't really felt like we've seen a lot from the safeties yet, which has been such a hot topic for us in the off season. I was kind of hoping we'd have a little bit of a finger on, do the safeties look any different than they did last year? And I just don't feel like we have any info on that yet.
Sam, you're a Packer fan, so I should just let you run wild, but I can't because you're our defensive guy. So I got to ask you specifically about the defense, what your thoughts on that are, just some of the notes that you've seen, any positive, negatives, or maybe some interesting schematic things that you've heard about.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge kind of schematic stuff from camp. There's only so much I think the reporters are allowed to talk about with that. There were some interesting stuff that I think I shared in the group chat, right? They were kind of experimenting with the 4 defensive line look with Kenny and Lowry on the edges and then Slayton and Reed on the inside. So I thought that was really interesting, kind of a little bit of a way to mix it up, get bigger up front. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. I do think it's interesting that like Quay is with the number ones already. It took him like 2 days of OTAs and he was already like starting. And I think that's, I kind of talked about, I can't remember if I talked about it here or elsewhere on the Wisconsin Sports Heroes podcast or whatever. But I talked about how I'm kind of anticipating, he could contribute early just because the defense he's coming from in Georgia is a little bit similar to Green Bay's defense with kind of the 2 high shells and that sort of thing. And so it's kind of cool to see him kind of adjusting pretty fast to that.
So John dropped something here in the comments that we can maybe possibly fill in on. I don't know if Sam, if you had some thoughts or anybody else, but he's curious who's going to fill in for Preston and Rashawn. And, it's not like cornerback where as long as everybody's healthy, these guys don't see the field.
Yeah.
Outside of the top 2 guys, you're getting snaps. So we've heard a lot about Hamilton and Nali or whatever you say this guy's name. But I'm just curious what you guys think in terms of who's going to end up winning those spots, and is it a liability, or do you think we maybe have something there? I guess we'll start with Clayton because we'll just go back around.
Yeah, I mean, the one that won't die is Jonathan Garvin, right? Garvin and Ramsey come to mind for me. I've kind of got the roster somewhat laid out back here with who I've got making the team, but according to some of the depth charts I've looked at, and granted they're not official Packers depth charts, but they had Ramsey higher than Garvin. That kind of caught me a little off guard. Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention to that, but obviously Anagbar, we want him to win that role, right? But everything I've seen as far as training camp so far, as far as updates, is talking about him getting washed out of the run and all that. And Sam, you did an excellent job when you broke down talking about him coming out of the draft. That's his weakness for sure, right? He's an edge specialist, and one of the things that you've got to be really, really wary of, I believe, when you've got edge defenders coming out of college, is they take advantage of the hash mark placement, and they line them up wide 9, and they can really, really take advantage of the offensive line, and that's something that he was really good at, coming off the edge, but tends to not be that good of a run defender. So it kind of feels like he's going to take on that role of the backup to the backup. Granted, it's early. With that being said, I guess the real question is it going to be Ramsey or Garvin that's going to be that main rotational guy? And Sam, I don't mean to skip Jacob, and just a real quick answer from you. Is there a difference between Garvin and Ramsey as far as, which side they play, strong, weak, that type of thing?
I don't know about that. I mean, Ramsey, obviously he was out this past year, so we haven't really seen where he really fits in Joe Barry's defense. From what I remember, Garvin was usually coming off the right side. From what I remember, they don't usually set it up strong, weak edge defenders. They usually just do right, left. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see that rotation as well, because from what I've looked at these past couple seasons, they've always kept like 5 outside linebackers, and so right. I think it could be Garvin and Ramsey, and then an Agbar, or however you say his name, something like that. But I think a lot of it is going to come down to who's a good run defender as that backup edge rusher, because you can manufacture pass rush a little bit. You can blitz if you need to. That's kind of something Joe Barry did last year, is he would send sim rushers more often when those backup edge rushers were on the field. But what you can't really do is in the too high defense, you really need your edges to hold up at the point of attack and spill runs outside. And so it might come down to, who can do that the best.
All right, Jacob, I'll pitch it over to you as far as the number 3, number 4 edge rushers. Who do you think they are, and do you think they're any good, or are they kind of a liability?
So first off, Ryan, it's Tipa Nalier. I'm pretty sure. JJ probably knows more about the pronunciations. Tipa Nalier, I believe it's what it's called, and it's Kingsley Enagbare. Okay, he said it himself. I sent you guys a clip, and I'm disappointed that you didn't watch it.
JJ sent me a clip, and that's not what he said.
No, I sent you a clip with Clayton and myself tagged because the Discord wouldn't let me send it, and Kingsley Enagbare said that in one of the Packers little get to know.
Ryan, if I send you the real clip, can you play it or
just pull it up?
I swear to God, if this guy doesn't know his own name, then it's not my fault.
That might be the case. He doesn't know his name.
The name is
Nalier, Kingsley Enagbare.
The website, for the record, says Naliai, which I think is the dumbest way to pronounce it. But who am I to?
Yep.
Who am I to tell the guy? All right, I got the clip, Ryan. How do you want me to send this to you?
Can you just share your screen and play it?
Yeah.
Or do you not want to do that?
No, I can do that.
Okay.
Jacob is correct.
Sergio
says I'm correct.
Well, no disrespect to Sergio, but let's see what the football player says his own name is.
No, I'm just wondering if when I share my screen, is it going to actually play the
just
audio?
Close your other tabs. You'll be fine.
I was going to say, close down what you got going on, JJ.
Thomas Austin with the $4.99. Please don't kick JJ today. All right, here we go. Here we go.
All right, crank the volume up.
What's going on? Your boy Kingsley Enagbare here. Just wanted to check in. What's going on? Your boy Kingsley Enagbare here. Just going on? Your boy Kingsley Enagbare here. What's going on? Your boy Kingsley Enagbare here.
Nope. I'm resending it right now. He says Enagbare in the clip. Homie don't even know his no name.
With the clip that we just listened to 4 times, that one.
I'm gonna send you another one.
I'm gonna call him Kingsley.
Yeah.
Ryan, check your messages. I already sent you it.
On what? Twitter or what?
Nope. I group message with me and Clayton. He says clearly Kingsley Enagbare.
I don't know, man. If you find it, we'll share your screen. We can do a side by side of the two with him saying different things.
I am not crazy.
Jacob's.
I'm not. This is my roadhouse. I am not crazy.
And by the way, I do have to honor the super chat. So JJ, I'm sorry. You do have to take a time out.
Answer the question.
He said not to.
It's in quotes. Please don't kick JJ, referencing JJ saying that, and then he says, "You know what to do."
All right, time to kick JJ. Ryan just.
Oh my God! It has begun.
Yeah. So he was next in line to answer the question.
Bring him back in.
All right, that was good enough. JJ, right. So what are your thoughts on the edge rushers?
I'm pretty firmly in the camp of we do absolutely need to bring somebody else in. I just don't think that what we have is good enough. Sam was talking about the third guy needs to be a good run defender. Tipa was our second highest graded run defender on the team last year behind Devondre Campbell. Preston and Rashawn were the 4th and 5th highest graded run defenders. And those are the only 5 guys, if you add Adrian Amos in there, who graded out in the 70s or higher. But just looking at the rest of the guys, there was a question for me of whether Kingsley could come in year 1 and be that guy who could provide the rotational depth that Whitney Merciless did last year. And so far, I just have not seen anything to indicate that, yeah, he can do that. And I just look at, when Whitney Merciless last year got hurt in the Seahawks game and then didn't come in again until the divisional round of the playoffs. In that stretch of games where he missed, where we had only Rashawn and Preston out there, and the third guy was Tiba or Garvin or Ladarius, you saw a massive leap in the number of points and yards we were allowing as a defense through that whole stretch. And I've always thought we needed to have 3 pass rushers, and I don't see anybody on the roster right now who's encouraging me to think that they are going to make a big leap from last year to this year, despite the fact that I like Randy Ramsey, I like Garvin, and I like what I think that an Agbar can bring. I even like Tipa. I don't think that anybody is quite on that level right yet.
This is Jacob's Roadhouse moment right here. He's gonna go get guns the next time somebody says
I sent you, Ryan. I sent it to your personal phone. I sent the video. If you can play it, he literally says Enigbare.
Hey, I used to say Enigbare until when they drafted him. He posted the video saying Gigsley Nagbar.
Jacob Shavank says right there. Jacob isn't crazy. He said it multiple ways.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, Jacob, you can jump in here if you want. You got the.
I told him get in the link.
Anyways, Sam, you're up next. I'm going to hand you this one, though. This is from Gabriel wanting to know about Campbell and Quay being on the field at the same time. I saw somebody talking about this, too, how the Packers like to play dime a ton last year. And now with the 2 linebackers, kind of how is that going to change things up? Are we going to be doing a lot less of that? And or is it, how does the defense look with 2 linebackers as opposed to last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll play a lot more nickel. I think dime will probably be just a very specialized package, like if the offense gets 5 wide receivers out there, that kind of thing. One thing I could see happening, I mean, obviously you got your standard nickel, which is a 4-2-5, but one thing you could see is either Gary or Preston slide into like a 3 technique, and then Quay go down on the edge and then play essentially what they call their penny package, which is a 5-man front with 1 linebacker in nickel. So they've still got the 3 cornerbacks, but they've just got the 1 linebacker back there. And so that could really open up some interesting options, both in terms of like blitzing Quay off the edge, as well as, dropping him, employing some disguise, that sort of thing.
And I think we've got the Dobbs thing figured out, right? That is, there's no dispute about that. It is Dobbs.
Yeah, I think it's Dobbs.
Yeah, because I saw other people asking about it as though it's like being disputed, but I have not seen. But who knows? Maybe there's going to be a video coming out pretty soon with him saying it's Dobbs or something. All right, we got a lot of pronunciation questions. JJ, you said somebody in the Facebook group had a question. What were they wanting?
Oh yeah. Where's my tab? That's the question.
Oh, I told you to close all your tabs. Sorry, I messed up.
All right, I got it. It's all right. So Garrett posted this a little over a week ago and addressed it to Ryan, myself, Clayton, and Sam, but didn't tag any of us, so I don't think any of us saw it. So he's got 4 questions. First is, which wideout leads the team in rushing yards?
Interesting.
Jump on it if you got an answer.
I feel like I'm just gonna take Amari because that feels like the most fun answer.
Right.
There's another guy who I think is a fantastic candidate, but I'll let somebody else use him. But obviously with Amari's ceiling would be what the 49ers have done with Deebo Samuel. It would be obviously awesome if he ever achieved that. And I think physically he's kind of got probably what it takes to do that. Real low center of gravity. He's built like a running back, really stocky. Seems like he's put on some more muscle this offseason. I would be excited to see them use him that way. The question is just how much is he going to be able to get on the field?
I know Randall Cobb used to be fantastic at that. I don't know if he can still do it, but that would be kind of fun to see him go in the backfield again and be able to do what he used to do, because there was a point in time, I swear, he was getting like 10 yards per carry, and I was like, I don't know why we do anything else. That's the guy is just But yeah, I don't know if that's still in his wheelhouse or not.
Looks like the chat has discovered my other answer.
Yeah. I was gonna say Christian Watson too. I think that he might get like less carries than some of the other wide receivers, but I think that he's got the potential to like take them a longer distance. Like he's gonna break off like a 70-yard run at some point if he gets some of those jet sweeps.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
I'll say somebody tweeted out from camp the other day. Granted, it's just one play, but there was one play where they said they motioned Dobbs into the backfield as H-back, and that really caught me off guard. I was like, what are they just – this guy is really standing out. Let's throw everything at him and see what he can handle, right now early on. But, again, my answer was going to be Christian Watson too, but I thought that was interesting, Dobbs lined up at H-back.
I just can't handle Tom and his questions. Every time I try, it's like this guy's sitting at home, just like, what's the weirdest question I can do today?
I wasn't sure whether to put his last question up or not. I'm like, I'm just not doing it, man. I'm not taking the bait.
Oh man,
I'm not gonna ask Sam to explain the difference between 3-4 and a 4-3. I'm sorry.
it's just one different.
Anybody feel like letting me ruin the day?
Yes.
Go ahead, JJ.
Sure.
Packers.com on how you pronounce Kingsley's name. This is Enagbari.
Enagbari.
I'm closer than anyone else.
It's still wrong.
That's not no.
What's his name? Matt Pickett on Twitter is like going to town and making this big campaign about how Packers.com is like the ultimate authority and they're never wrong. And I just, man, I can't. If they're saying Enagbari, that doesn't sound like anything like what.
It's a video where he says his name.
Video.
I'm telling you. I texted to you.
I feel like the Packers.com pronunciation probably is the closest to the correct one because they probably asked him, and so that's probably how he wants it pronounced.
Travis Kelce.
If he wants it pronounced that way,
that's a lie.
If he wants it pronounced that way, then why doesn't he say it that way? Nobody is making the case they've heard him say Enagbari.
Do you want to know what's crazy? Okay, my last name is Boos, but I say Bus because it's easier. I get it. I really do. Because I don't want to be like, my last name is Boos.
Well, that was the quarterback too. Who was the quarterback that everybody was saying his name wrong, and for years,
Rod Taylor.
Yeah, and he's like, I just didn't correct anyone because I don't feel like correcting everyone all the time.
And Tunyon used to be called Tunyon.
Yeah, Tunyon.
Yeah, but you know what? Tunyon's sister says Tunyon. She's got a video saying, "Hi, I'm Sarah Tunyon." So,
wait a minute, JJ. I swear you'd be such a good serial killer.
Or how about reporter?
That's probably a little bit better.
They are really, really close to being parallel.
Yeah. Question number 2 from Garrett in the Facebook group. What 7th round pick is likely to start first and why? And I have to check real quick here. I'll make sure that my answer actually was drafted in the 7th and not the 6th.
Gotta be Torrey, right?
I know who mine is.
Okay.
So who's most likely to start first?
Yeah, who's going to start first?
Okay. Start.
So,
all right, I got it.
Torrey, right?
All right, So our 7th round picks were Tariq Carpenter, John Ford, Rasheed Walker, and Samori Toure. I'm going to take Carpenter. I think that he makes a lot of sense to start on special teams, and I could see him being the third safety by relatively early in the season. So, you know, at that point, you're one injury away from needing to be the guy up.
Yeah, I could see that. If we're counting special team starters, then I could see that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, John Ford probably is going to be playing out there week 1 on the field goal blocking unit.
Well, I think Toure and Ford are headed for practice squad anyways, so I don't think they have much of a shot. I don't know if Rasheed Walker he might be the same thing anyway, so that's why I was leaning Carpenter. He's the only one that's going to be on the team just because of special teams. So
yeah, I would say him or Toure. I think those are the two most likely guys to make the roster on special teams.
Anybody else have a different answer?
I think Carpenter would be mine.
Yeah.
Question number 3 from Garrett. How many shutouts does the defense end up with? And I think it's worth noting that the last time they had a shutout before last year was like 2008 or something. I mean, it was a long time ago.
I thought they had one in 2018, the Bills game. Jair had his first career interception that game, I think.
That
was
right.
the game that Rodgers complained about the offense.
Yeah, Sam,
right.
We're like a human computer. I don't know what I hate.
Prior to that, it was 2010 versus the Jets. So they went 8 years without a shutout, and then they went 3 more years without a shutout.
Yeah. I think it is worth noting that I think like even the Baltimore Ravens and the 2000 Ravens only had like 4 shutouts in the season. So they don't, even the top defenses don't get a lot.
I'll say they got a chance to do it in week 2 versus the Bears.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say one, and it'll be the Bears.
Yeah, I could see that.
Conversely, maybe the Bears start out with a little bit of juice just because they're excited, like, oh man, we got rid of all of our scapegoats and we're finally going to be good. And then by the end of the season, then they've collapsed again. So maybe that December 4th game, we get a shutout.
Yeah, I think the juice goes out in week 1, though, after they realize, they come out all fired up and then realize they can't move the ball. And then, that's the end of that. By the way, shout out to Mike with the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate that. He says Dobbs will outproduce Watkins and it won't be close. More to come.
Ooh.
I could see that, honestly.
I can't.
Watkins gets injured early.
Yeah, probably.
Mike's been a great supporter. He's been liking our stuff on Instagram for like years. Thank you, Mike. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It makes sense too if Watson and Watkins end up getting hurt. I mean, Dobbs is on the road to just being thrust into a prominent wide receiver role as it is.
Yep.
All right,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
I want to hear from JJ and Sam, guys that maybe aren't. Are people sleeping on Lazard? Is he the number one? Is that the consensus? Because, like, as a fantasy type perspective, guys aren't drafting him till like the 6th, 7th round. Sometimes the 5th is the earliest. Like, he's clearly the number one in my opinion. I don't understand how people don't see that.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, I think that he is going to be the number one. I don't know if he's going to be the same type of number one as Devontae, where he's just eating up a ton of targets. Like, I think that the ball will be more spread out, but I think he will be like the top guy in the offense.
There's 169 targets to disperse between people. I mean, that to me it's got to go somewhere. And I think Aaron Jones is probably going to be the beneficiary of that. And if I'm, again, a fantasy guy, but as an Aaron Jones fan, I think that he's going to be more of a receiver this year than a back.
Yeah, I could see that.
Looks like 25 receivers last year cracked 1,000 yards. I think it looks like you had 33 receivers who cracked 900 yards. I think if Lazard gets less than 900 yards, I think that would be disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Unless everyone else has like 500 and 600, 700, right?
Which I think they will anyways. I think Aaron Jones is going to be the second most targeted guy on the offense. That's how the Packers have operated for 10 years, is that their running back one gets the second most targets after your wide receiver one. But I think Lazard realistically could crack 1,000 yards, probably not much more than that. And then Aaron Jones, I think, if Lazard is getting 80, 90 targets on the season, I think that Aaron Jones is hovering around 60 on the season. That's my guess.
Kind of a follow-up question to that. If Alan Lazard does break that 1,000-yard mark, do you think the Packers try to re-sign him, or do you think they let him go?
They should
re-sign him, yeah.
Yeah, I think what they'll do is like they have in the past, kind of like what they did with Aaron Jones, let him test the market and then, end up re-signing him at that stage. As far as the 169 targets you said, Jacob, is that right?
Yes, sir.
I think that's going to be minimized a touch too, because when you take out all of the RPOs that Aaron leaned on Tay during, I don't see him going to those RPOs as often as he did with Tay. But I don't think it's going to be a huge number. I mean, maybe you lose 10 passes there, 10 targets, but I think Lazard can crack 1,000. I'm telling you, I think Lazard is an excellent wide receiver. There hasn't been one play where I'm like, what was he doing? Or God, that was a horrible drop. Things don't, stick out to me where it's like he didn't do what he was asked to do. And I can't get over the PFF grade of when targeted, what was it? The QB rating that Rodgers has when Lazard is targeted. I mean, you go out and play ball in the backyard and you're going to throw to the biggest receiver. I mean, you have way more confidence with a catch radius of a guy of that size than you do, an Amari Rodgers or even a Randall Cobb. But I do think Randall Cobb's going to have a great year if he stays healthy too. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Cobb. It just feels like he is 100% acclimated to this offense now. And I think Rodgers is really going to try to prove a point with him on the roster too. So, my pick will be Lazard, but I think Cobb's going to have a great year.
And I really think that I don't think that Rodgers' passing attempts are really going to go down. He's had mid 500s every year that he's played a full year. At least he's been over 600. At least once. But I think that looking at low 500s for passing attempts still feels about right for Rodgers. I think he's going to get 4,000 yards pretty comfortably. I'm not nervous about that. My biggest thing is I just want to see Lazard healthy all year because I really would rather have him play the whole season and not look fantastic than just get only a few games and then miss a bunch of time. And we're all left wondering, what would have been if he had played the full season. That would just kill me if we never get an answer to the question of what does it look like to have Lazard as your actual wide receiver one for the full season.
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody want to touch the Thomas Austin question?
Which one? One of 9.
There's a lot of these.
Redraft somebody. Pick a new person.
Oh,
not named Jordan Love.
So that's choose a new person in place of someone the Packers picked?
Yes.
I believe
think
so.
It's in place of Jordan Love specifically.
And we probably need to just take Kevin King off the table because that's
fair.
The Kevin King to TJ Watt thing is just too easy.
Sergio.
And maybe
So we're not, are we talking about specifically 2020? That's the way I interpret that question. Like, yeah. Who would you take rather than Jordan Love? Let's go through that.
I kind of took it as like in good like career.
Yeah. Pick somebody but not Jordan Love because that's too easy.
My guy would probably be Kamal Martin. I didn't understand him as a draft prospect, and there were some wide receivers taken in between Kamal Martin and the first offensive lineman that we took that you wouldn't, still take. Like guys like I think Darnell Mooney was in there. I know Donovan Peoples-Jones was in there. Just a few guys I would much rather have over the minuscule contribution we ever got out of Kamal Martin.
Yeah, well, for me, it might be. I think if I'm getting the draft position right, I think it might be when we drafted Sternberger. I mean, we could have had McLaurin.
One pick later.
Yeah, was that the same draft with Debo and those guys too? Am I thinking right? Was it Debo Samuel's draft?
I think so.
Because there was a couple of receivers taken, outside of the first round that just turned out to be studs. I mean, absolute studs.
DK Metcalf was in there.
There you
Jake
go.
says
AJ
Dalton
Brown.
Schultz instead of Jamon Moore.
That actually would be an interesting one, because Schultz has been pretty good.
Yeah.
Quietly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well bring this up. Super chat $1.99 JJ.
Jake says yes. It was DK, Debo, Deontay, and McLaurin in that draft class. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as the Ty Summers thing here, Sergio says heard Ty Summers has not been playing any special teams in camp. That's his only skill. Best special teamer last year on the worst special teams ever. So yeah, that's been kind of a big thing that I've been looking at, especially with linebackers, is who's playing special teams. And if he's not doing it, and I think you're right, I haven't seen much about him doing it, then we can kind of just write him off. I don't think he's going to be around too much longer.
Yeah, I can't see him sticking if he can't stay on special teams.
I'm the biggest Ty Summers fan because he reacts to our Instagram stuff all the time, and now I'm just like, I don't want to see you go, but
I kind of feel like Carpenter fills that role too. You keep Carpenter over Summers. He's can play special teams probably at a little bit better level as he gets his feet under him, and then also in a pinch can play linebacker or safety. Carpenter is seeming like he's probably going to be a lock for this roster, right? I mean, he was taken in the 7th round. We just confirmed that, so I kind of feel like Carpenter's going to make the roster.
Yeah, I think for special teams, if nothing else.
Yeah,
he's kind of that hybrid type guy, right? He's a safety linebacker hybrid.
Yeah, they kind of converted him to. I think he started as safety, and then they converted him to linebacker in the Senior Bowl.
Like 6'4", 225 type. Runs a 4 or something. Like he's not.
Yeah.
JJ, do you know off the top of your head how many safeties typically the Packers keep? I know you keep track of that.
Yeah, actually, I got it right in front of me here. I think it's 4.5.
Yeah,
there's
4.5.
It's exactly 4.5. Yeah,
there's a lot of competition there, I think. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say lock, because obviously you got Savage, Amos, and I think it's not Leavitt. What is his name?
Levitt.
Whatever. So that's 3 for sure. And I know they like Sean Davis. There's Vernon Scott. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm 100% saying he's a lock.
JJ, did you say that Henry Black, he got signed by Atlanta?
Falcons.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Huh. All right. What's the
it-
deal with
it
that,
sure-
dude? Because I always felt like he was low key kind of okay, and apparently the coaches didn't agree.
A good special teamer too.
So the thing that I had heard with Henry Black is, if you looked at like everybody, with the exception of the long snapper Wertel, everybody who was involved in the 49ers final play that sunk us got cut,
sacked.
and Henry Black was one of those guys. So everybody else who was involved in that got cut. So somebody had pointed that out.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
and I feel like on defense, whenever I turn on the defense, he's like one of the biggest sore points. Just in coverage, just he can't really do a whole lot.
Plus, he's been around for a while. Like at a point, like, do you think he's going to show you anything else you haven't already seen? Probably not.
Right.
Yeah, he did have a really cool like forced fumble against the Texans like a couple of years ago, so that's a positive.
How many sacks does Rashawn need to finally get the media's respect?
All of them. All the sacks.
I think the magic number is 10. I think if you get double digits, then they'll at least pay attention. Not that that's a super impressive number, but I think if as long as he's under 10, they're not going to care all that much. So if he can stay above 10, I think he'll at least be able to be in the conversation.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you mean by national media, because I know there are some guys who are kind of national reporters or analysts, and the guys who actually like watch ball, they all like really like him.
Right.
But if you're talking about like is he going to be included on like First Take or whatever, then yeah, probably like 12 or 13 sacks.
Yeah.
All right, Thomas Austin again. Thomas Austin show. That makes sense for the team that are left. I'm so burned out on the free agent question. I'm going to let somebody else take that.
only thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the position that makes the most sense to me would be to try and bring somebody in at edge rusher. The problem is there's just not a lot of great options out there. Obviously, I've kind of talked a good bit already about Carl Nassib. There's maybe some other dudes out there, but I think what intrigues me would be who out there at edge rusher does Gutekunst, like, because he went out and found Whitney Merciless last year. And, Ryan did an episode talking about why it made a lot of sense, but I don't think prior to us picking him up, anybody was at all intrigued by Whitney Merciless. So, Goody's the guy who noticed the potential there first, and that absolutely panned out.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen too with final cuts. I mean,
right.
There's going to be plenty of guys. I just kind of feel like the way the roster sits right now, highly unlikely they bring someone else in unless there's an injury. I kind of feel like, all right, the camp battles have began. Let's see who makes the team, and then if there is one or two surprise cuts that could benefit the team, then you try to sneak somebody onto the practice squad and sign that player.
And D Ford is out there. He just got cut.
That is odd.
Oh, that's right.
I saw that.
What was his PFF last year? Does anybody know?
Let's find out.
Because I heard the name D Ford when they cut him, and I was like, oh, wow, yeah. And then I'm like, I'm probably thinking 8 years ago.
Is he old? I mean, yeah.
Right.
Looks like
I don't think he played much.
No,
he
much
really
last year.
And it was pretty bad too.
Was it?
Looking at his
week one, he had a 75. After that, it was 39, 53, 54, 49. He had a 52.9 overall, which even in 2020, it was the same thing. He didn't play a lot then either. So he's injured, beat up, and has not been a good football player.
He's played 151 snaps in the last 2 years.
Yeah, that sounds like Whitney Merciless, though, doesn't it?
He played 200 snaps in 2019 and had an 84 grade. So,
yeah,
and that's kind of how Whitney Merciless was, right? Kind of tailing off his career, and then we took a chance on him and said, "Hey, come over here, and we'll give you like a little bit of money and see what you can do."
Yeah, I think the difference is that Whitney Merciless hadn't been struggling with like neck and back injuries.
That's true. That's true.
It's kind of a red flag.
And that's why I hope Za'Darius, like Clayton says, I don't wish ill on anyone, but God, I hope your back goes out, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't wish ill will on anyone, but
All right, I
wish ill
prefaced
will on
it.
you.
All right, I tried.
I said no offense.
Yeah.
Right.
My
Everything
thing
I
is
said-
just like, we had Jimmy Graham sucked for 2 years here, and we had to endure it, and it was awful. And then the second he left and went to Chicago, he remembered how to catch touchdowns again. And it was so freaking frustrating watching that. I just don't want to see Za'Darius like suck up all our money here for 2 years and not give us
he's
much
gonna do
in
something.
20 and
You know
21.
that game's gonna be bad, and he's gonna probably get a sack, and he's gonna do some weird dance.
Yeah.
And
He's gonna have something on his shirt, something written on his shirt.
yeah, he's gonna pull the
Oh,
shirt
no.
off.
Yeah,
and do
pull
the
up his
whole,
shirt and it'll say, "I love Thomas
Oh.
Austin." Right?
Anything but that.
All right. So speaking of, what are your thoughts on week 1? We'll start. Well, this is a good roundtable question. Clayton, week 1, Packers, Vikings. What do you think?
Man, I could see it going either way. My original picks, I had them dropping that game. The big thing from a schematic standpoint is you got a new coaching staff, and it's easy to say, well, Kevin O'Connell, it's the same type of offense that the Packers run. He comes from that Rams tree and all that, but at the same time, man, you don't have film to go off of other than the Rams, and the personnel is totally different in Minnesota. So those games make me nervous. With that being said, the 3 parameters that I always take into consideration is the head coach, the quarterback, and the defense. The edge defenders on the opposing defense. So I think it's safe to say we have the better head coach, right? We have the better quarterback by a mile. Edge defenders, they've got pretty stout edge defenders if Za'Darius is healthy. So I think it could be a close game, it being on the road. If I had to bet the farm on it, I'm betting on Aaron Rodgers indoors, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they drop it.
Jacob, what do you think?
Yeah, to be honest, I am a little bit nervous about the game. It's opening. Vikings always get hyped in certain pockets of the season. They seem to look so good when they enter the season. They seem so good when they're chasing the playoff race. They seem, so talented on defense and blah, blah, blah. When I really think about it, when I look at Matt LaFleur and how I think he's trying to change the dynamic, like you saw in his press conference when he walked in and nobody said anything. And he's like, hey, it's the start of the season, guys. Like, want to talk, raise some. I think that he's trying, and he acknowledges the fact that we maybe come out flat in certain situations. So if he can overcome that and we get into the first game of the season, I hope that we win. I think that's as best as I can do. I hope that we can win. If we show up, I think we will. I think we can outmatch them in every way. But yeah, I hope.
JJ?
There are certainly some games in the schedule that make me nervous. This Vikings game isn't really one of them. I'm really looking forward to it because I want to see what kind of coach Kevin O'Connell is. Want to see how that offense looks. If it's going to swing in the Vikings' favor, I think it's going to be Daniil and Za'Darius versus a patchwork offensive line for the Packers. I think that right there is the one and only prayer the Vikings have of doing something in week 1. They have some talent on that roster, but it is so young. And if you're trying to take advantage of a slow start for the Packers receivers, this is not the DB group to do that with, especially not when the season's just kicking off. So I think that the second meeting of the Vikings game is going to be maybe a little bit hairier, but week 1, I'm penciling that one in as a dub for the Packers.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a win for the Packers. I think that kind of the way I see it in my head going, that I think the Vikings might actually start slow just because they have new coaches on both sides of the ball. We kind of saw how that can affect the Packers. When Matt LaFleur came in, when Joe Barry came in, they both sides of the ball in those situations kind of struggled early on. I think that from what I've heard, Kevin O'Connell is looking to unleash Kirk Cousins a little bit, which I don't think is a good thing. I think that the Packers defense will be able to take advantage of that. And I think that part of the, an underrated element is Za'Darius is obviously going to be fired up. I think our defense is going to be fired up. Like Rashawn Gary, he got spicy with Za'Darius a little bit after he left. And so I think that they could come out a little fired up. And I think the offense could struggle, like JJ said, with those edge rushers. But I think that ultimately the defense will make some plays and it'll come down to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think emotionally I'm worried about the game, but I tend to agree. I think if you actually really think it through, they've got some learning to do. They've got a lot to figure out with their coaching staff and everything else. So I'm nervous about the game. But yeah, that is a good point too with the throwing more, which I don't understand because I think Cousins operates really well with the system they have, which is let's run the ball constantly. I looked it up, by far the highest graded play action passing quarterback. And so if we're going to get away from that and threatening with the run and just spread everybody out and start passing, I don't think that is going to help, especially with his skill set. If you want to do that down the line, fine. But again, we're talking week 1 against the Packers. I don't think that's going to work super, super great. Thomas Austin, again, $4.99 super chat. I'm not kicking JJ out, though. Look at this. Hello, Thomas Austin of Thomas Austin fame. I'll put this to cover the tab and then some. So JJ gets to stay this time. JJ,
I still need my cut.
You know, I'll add a little bit to the payouts for the podcast. It'll be 15 cents added on.
My balance is still 0 for all of the donations to kick me out ever. I've received 0 cents so far.
Yeah, you don't get any. All the other. JJ, you got to
get my Venmo up.
So Mike Clay over at ESPN puts up this chart. And he's been updating it throughout the year. And I'm not sure what happened to put the Chargers up a bit, but previously the Packers were right up there, I think at number 1. Tampa recently overtook them because of Julio Jones. I think it's interesting comparing the personnel groups here and how he's grading them. Obviously makes me super happy to see that the Packers are the only team with a perfect quarterback grade there. Patrick Mahomes comes in at 3.9, ahead of Tom Brady at 3.8. I don't know how much I agree with that, but I think the Packers actually get a little bit of a boost because of Jordan Love being there as the backup option if Rodgers goes down. That's my theory as to why they get a 4 and nobody else gets that close. But still, obviously, when you look at it, tight end is something that sticks out to you. I'm curious what you guys are thinking about the tight end room.
Yeah,
Packers
I mean, I don't feel like
26.
I don't feel like there are a lot of stars, but I feel like there's some good role players.
I think it's crazy that people are talking smack about our wide receiver corps while you look at other teams that don't have anything. I mean, you look at, Chiefs, I guess you could say have something possibly, but the Ravens and, the Colts and it's just the Titans, especially, I don't know. I'd like to stack up our guys against those guys. I mean, like in the Titans, Robert Woods is hurt. Who else they got? And with the Ravens, you got hopefully Bateman does something, but if not, you have Duvernay and some guy that I don't even know. Like, okay, so people are all like the Packers don't have anyone. We have like 5 dudes that could be the number 1 receiver. I just think it's funny that other people are being like, well, you don't have a number 1.
Yeah, and I feel like our receiver room is real simple. We've got a room full of 2s, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not. Not when if you're going to play
a room full of 9s. I'll take that.
Right. If you're going to play within the scheme itself, you don't need a superstar wide receiver. The route combinations, the concepts, and your all-world quarterback is going to be able to put you in a situation to take advantage of those combinations. All you need is a solid group of receivers that can get from point A to point B. We don't need them to shake somebody out of their cleats. We just need them to run the route, run it crisp, and let Aaron, go through and decipher everything. That's the way I see it. I would much rather have a room full of number 2s than a room with one number 1 and a bunch of number 3s or 4s. That's just me.
And I think that's what it's going to be. It's the Packers are going to win games, and all we're going to hear about is how none of these wide receivers are emerging. It's just going to be a constant theme from the media about, well, they still don't have it, and it's like, dude, we're 4-1. So figure it out as to why your theories about we need a number 1 are stupid. Shut up. But they won't shut up. It's fine.
They won't.
Hello, Packernet from Atheist for the Cause there. Anybody want to say hello?
What's up?
Oh.
All right.
What's up, buddy? That's Drew, isn't it?
It is Drew, yeah.
I like James's question.
Where are we at? James?
There
It's
you
gonna be
go.
a surprising
Good
cut.
Who's
question.
going to be a surprise cut from the team? Anybody have a thought?
I think a surprise cut is going to come from either the running back or wide receiver room, where it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
It could be
agree.
either Kylan or maybe somebody like Watkins. Who knows? What if he doesn't?
Watkins is high on my list of
Like,
surprise
what if-
cuts.
What if
Yeah.
he doesn't? If he can't get healthy, if he can't run, if he can't show up, and even if he does, I mean, the guy's been, he's Clemson, number whatever the heck first round pick, but he hasn't showed it.
4 or 5, yeah.
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 I'd also maybe look to the offensive line. Last year, I felt like one of the safest roster spots outside of like an Elton or a Bakhtiari was Ben Braden, just because of how much he was getting used in training camp. He was all over the place. He got just a monster number of reps at, I think, right tackle. And that cut just kind of came out of nowhere for me. I was surprised by it. So I'm looking at, who here, is it a Cole Van Lanen or somebody who it's like, well, clearly they like him because they're giving him a bunch of reps here and there. I'm not doubting a guy like Yash, but I'm just saying a guy who you just assume they really like because of how much they get used, and Ben Braden kind of flew in the face of that logic.
Yeah, I was going to say, either Hansen or Najman. If Najman got cut, it would suck in my opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised. They've made those kind of cuts before where we're like, what? How? But them rolling him around to right tackle, that can be seen as, oh, wow, he's got versatility, but it could also be seen as Zach Tom's beating him out for left tackle. We don't know what's being talked about in those rooms, And if he is beating Najman out for left tackle and Cole Van Lanen can play right tackle, again, that would be a surprise cut. I'm not saying it's likely, but Najman is the one that comes to mind for me.
How do we have 2 Tom Austins in the?
Yeah, I know. I was just noticing that.
It's definitely the same person too.
So we have 18 questions now? I don't understand.
Oh, man.
Don't you say it, John.
Never
Don't
seen
you say it.
more energy
Don't do that.
anybody.
Burkitt has not looked good, right?
No, he has not looked good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is does Crosby qualify as a surprising cut?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
I think if nothing else, because he's buddy with Aaron Rodgers. So they could.
Well, plus he's rooming with our punter. Like they're step brothering each other. Like
Donald's hate to ruin relationships with your punter.
There's so much room for activities in that house.
Punter in 4 years.
My surprise cut is Coco, hands down. Coco.
Yeah, that's a good one. Wertel, isn't it the other guy? Wertel.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
I don't want to. Hey, I ain't trying to pronounce nobody's name. It got heated in here just a second.
How do you pronounce Patrick Swayze?
It's
Greatness.
Roadhouse.
And the name is Dalton.
Not touch it.
Hey, by the way, JJ, did you get a name hammered down? By the way,
Yeah,
it's only like kind of important because it's your child.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, my wife and I are on baby watch like any day. It's getting a little
That's
bit
why
late
I thought
in
you
the day
couldn't
for
make
it
the
to
pass
happen
the podcast because you
today.
feel like my baby's coming.
I don't know. I made a bet with my wife about 10 days ago. She was thinking, I think it'll be August 13th. I said July 31st. Looks like I'm going to lose that bet. So
I love watching Ryan's face as you're talking about expecting your first child. Ryan's been down this road so many times, and it makes me think of, is it the James Franco meme where he's standing there at the gallows and looks over and says, "First time"? Like, no idea what he's about to get into.
Ryan's just like, "Oh, you're pregnant again? All right. Well, let me know what we're naming it."
I gotta updo my podcast now.
It's a good time, JJ. You'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. We had an awful time trying to pick out names though, because we just had such different tastes in names. So we finally just handshake agreement. I picked out the boy name, she picked out the girl name, and we don't know what we're having. Ooh. So there you go. God's gonna decide what the baby's called.
So you guys are going with the surprise approach, not knowing boy or girl. That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
I like it. I like
You're
it.
not doing
'cause
any of
I
those
don't have
really
any-
cool baby gender reveals. You're not gonna do any of those super cool things that we love watching.
Well, we'll see when the baby comes out. You know, if it comes out in like pink amniotic fluid or blue amniotic fluid, and that'll tell us. You know,
So specific.
Oh,
is it wearing a pink hat or a blue hat when it comes out? How about that?
Oh gosh.
Hey,
So
at least you can't
Tom is-
burn down the California forests.
Tom has another
That's what I
fantastic
thought.
question for us. How many different players will have rushing yards? So who wants to count out every player with a rushing yard this year?
Yeah, I'll do it.
right.
Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, Hill or Taylor, whoever is running back 3.
Good to
Christian Watson, Alan Lazard, Amari Rodgers, DeGuara. So that's 9, and then
Winfrey.
maybe
Wordle.
running back 4. Who?
Wordle on a jet sweep.
To
When
himself.
dark horse, I'll throw out there. Dallin Levitt has been used on some punt fakes before. As well.
Look at Sam coming in hot with the info.
Okay, this would be interesting to look back and see Bisaccia's special teams units do they ever do any kinds of fakes and stuff, because I think that maybe is going to be the biggest indicator. So I'll say it's 10, because I got 9 guys, and I'll throw one more guy out there who's maybe a running back 4 or some weird wild card.
Yeah.
It just took me back talking about fakes because it feels like we haven't done them often, of recent years. But the Tom Crabtree fake, you remember that during the oh my God.
That's right.
The ugliest human being on the face of the earth, but man, that fake was beautiful, absolutely gorgeous.
He does, man. He is.
I don't know, man. Tom Crabtree, he's got big muscles. I wouldn't want to talk smack around him. He's funny on Twitter, though.
So who is running back 3?
That's a great question.
Come on, JJ. You know.
We talked about this earlier. Didn't
Don't
we,
get
Jake?
me in trouble.
I like Kylan. I like Patrick Taylor, but I think that BJ Goodson and Baylor maybe are making a run. I don't know. They said that they're so quick and so shifty. I just don't know which. If you look at the third running back, I don't understand if they're trying to replace AJ Dillon or Aaron Jones, because those are very 2 different backs, right? So, like, who is your backup to those?
What I could see happening is, and I talked about this with Jacob earlier, I could see a couple of guys making a push and the Packers wanting to get a little bit cute and maybe start Kylan Hill on the pup to keep one of those guys and see what they've got. Exactly. I'm a big fan of big backs, but at the same time, if Aaron Jones goes down and your offense becomes somewhat limited, in utilizing the running back in the passing game, we know AJ Dillon can catch the football, but you now take him out of his primary role and everything kind of gets shifted around, much like how when an offensive lineman goes down, especially a center, everything just gets thrown out of whack. So I could see them utilizing that, but at the same time, we talked about it earlier. Kylan Hill looks good right now. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos, but he looks healthy. Like I don't know, man. These guys, as bad as Bakhtiari's ACL went, Tunyon, Elton Jenkins, and Kylan Hill have impressed me just seeing them on the sidelines and how they're moving.
Yeah, and I think
So
it is worth noting that last season when the Packers got into like their pony package, Kylan Hill was like the third running back behind Dillon and Jones, who was used there.
Yeah, I know they like Hill. It's just a matter of, is he going to come back? And then the other thing I'm curious about is kick return. Is he still going to be that guy that they like on special teams? If not, then he gets taken down another peg. But I've resigned myself, as much as I like Patrick Taylor, to the fact that they don't like Taylor as much as I do. Yeah. So I think it's going to be Kylan Hill if he can come back and still be a special teams guy. Otherwise, yeah, I'm kind of looking at Goodson right now with a little curiosity on if he's going to end up winning that spot as sort of a surprise.
Yeah. Did you guys hear about Amari Rodgers calling for the fair catch and Bisaccia going off?
First of all,
yeah.
Man, they're giving him every opportunity possible to win that return job, and it just he dropped the F-bomb and said, "I don't want to effing fair catch."
Yep.
Like,
it was funny too because it said, I think it was I forgot who it was, but he said the very next play was a fair catch right after that. I was like, oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Sam,
think
it's
doing that job.
It's worth noting the Packers only had 3 running backs on the roster at that point, though. They only kept 3
That's
going
true.
into the season. I think Patrick Taylor seems like he's playing himself off the team. I like him a lot, but he can't be making these mistakes.
Yeah.
But Kylan Hill has never done anything to really wow me either. So I have no idea who our running back 3 is. Maybe Goodson.
Yeah.
Well, aside from Thomas Austin having a conversation with himself in the comments here, I have no idea what both Thomas Austins are talking about.
He is. He's chatting back and forth between his 2 accounts.
Second kid. And then
My
Thomas
question-
said third kid. I don't know what that means.
What is that?
I just his Facebook picture. Why does he look so concerned? Like seriously, like he.
I think he's doing the smolder. Isn't he doing the smolder?
That's how he gets the ladies.
Yeah, that's a fine picture.
Hey, we got Nate in the chat. Hey, Nate.
What up, Nate?
Nate the Great. Well, that's literally his name. I was just saying that to be stupid.
Hey, Drew makes a point that we got these really tall receivers.
What's that mean? Dude. No,
So
your first
at
chat
what
was so
point-
Thomas. That's perfect. It's just, yeah, I can't do.
I can't good pictures.
Can't good.
It doesn't even make it that much better.
Yeah.
You want a third attempt at that, Thomas?
At what point does Thomas get a cut of the 0 money that we're making for this live stream?
Yeah, I can't do good reading.
Oh man.
All right, we're at right about an hour. Does anybody else have any other thoughts? Because I'm hungry.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too. Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right.
Just, less than a week till football. We got the Hall of Fame game
That's
this Thursday.
crazy. That's
Oh.
crazy.
That's great. You got
Yeah.
me chills going now. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get out of here, and I appreciate everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. Got some good questions. Got mostly ridiculous Thomas questions, but I appreciate them too. Be sure to tune in. We got a lot of podcasts coming out and a lot more content coming. Thank you guys very much for 1 million downloads. That's what this was supposed to be about.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
huge.
million. That's cool.
I remember like last year or whatever, I was 900 and some odd thousand. It was so close to 1 million, and now we're halfway through the season, already crossed it. So see if we can get to 2 million before the season's out. But anyways,
yeah.
you guys have a good one, and we'll